Hey, what's up? Kalen here. Wanted to talk about the Magento bug bounty program shenanigan that went down recently. So basically what happened is there was an update posted to the bug crowd page saying that it was going to be closed down and moved over to Adobe's HackerOne program, which is a vulnerability disclosure program. It's not a paid bounty program. So it seemed clear from that meant that the disclosures were no longer going to be paid. So some people kind of got a little feisty about that. Will and DeGroot posted about that. And then I think roughly a day later, so Jason Woosley clarified and said, hey, we're going to continue to pay for the bug bounty. We're just moving it to a new program. And you know, the response then, I think from like people like Matt Acey, the community evangelist or developer evangelist for Adobe, was like, hey guys, please stop getting, you know, assuming the worst of Adobe and kind of seeming a little exasperated, like, and it's got to be somewhat tiring to have to deal with our nonsense. We can be a rowdy bunch, but seeming a little bit exasperated. And I saw some tweets from Cal Evans comparing this situation to a situation with Redis and just talking about how to message things like this and stuff. And at the end of the day, Adobe can do whatever they want to do. You know, as a company, they don't have to ask our opinion, and we as a community can get all upset and we can do what we want to do. You know, ultimately, what to me seems like would be a productive takeaway from this, instead of like saying like, oh man, you know, you guys are so reactionary and you're exaggerating things, is to maybe say, hey, look, our bad, like this wasn't messaged very well. We could do a better job of that in the future, and maybe just lay out like how that could be improved, because it seems clear to me, and this is just based on public info, I don't have any private info, it seems clear to me that none of the community management team, Ben Mark, Sherry, Matt Acey, had any direct knowledge of the situation at first, because it's not like they replied right away and said, oh no, everything's cool. It was like it seemed like they weren't in the loop, and they didn't have an answer, and Matt was helpful in saying, hey look, we're going to look into this, I'm sure everything's fine. And he ended up being right. But you know, maybe you have a policy in place where before public changes, because things are going to change, like we all realize things are going to be changing, and we want to be optimistic. We may have a tendency to be somewhat pessimistic, but things are going to change, and so things are going to need to be like communicated. And so maybe there's a policy that says, hey, before we do public changes, roll out public changes, we're going to run them by the community management team. Or people like Willem, who is a tremendous resource, you know, I think probably has done single-handedly more for the security of the Magento platform than any single person. Maybe him, you know, maybe he gets looped into security things. I'm sure he'd be, you know, helpful in that. Maybe you find people that you can loop into certain decisions or how to communicate things. So maybe a better response, instead of like, oh, you guys are so reactionary, is, hey, like, here's what we're going to do to improve messaging going forward, to kind of get more buy-in, because there are other things like this that are going to happen, you know, going forward. So those are my two thoughts, 2 cents. Let me know what you think in the questions and comments. Appreciate you for watching. Thanks.